Girls, quick revision on Figueroa's framework. So what is it? It's a tool to investigate the issues surrounding things like equity, which is fairness, access, and equality, which is equal in sport, exercise and physical activity. It investigates the ways in which inequities can be challenged in exercise, sport, and physical activity, e.g., schools of a lower socioeconomic status may not have the facilities and the money to buy sporting equipment in comparison to private schools. Therefore, those barriers could be overcome in certain ways to address those inequities. Hopefully this looks familiar, the 5 levels of Figueroa's framework. Remember, we start the big picture, cultural. Our culture dictates, unfortunately, the sports we play. And you would have remembered that term, hopefully from last year. Sport is a microcosm of society. So what we see in society filters into sport. The perfect example is body image, okay? In society, there's this certain shape, body type that women conform to, and that's generated by society, and that's filtered into sport and aerobics as a perfect example. You might not play aerobics because you don't fit that certain body shape, or you might not feel comfortable dancing around in a leotard, doing gymnastics or rhythmic, etc. Then we go to structural, institutional, interpersonal, so the people around you, and then it filters back to you. And hopefully you can remember the reasons why it filters down to you. Don't forget, girls, really important. They are all interconnected. Individual, it's all about you. What you believe in, what are your attitudes, and what do you value? So, for example, are you someone that follows stereotypes conformed by society? So do you not play certain sports that require a certain body shape because society says that you should look like this as a female? Think critically about your own perceptions, really important, and what factors have shaped your attitudes and values and beliefs. Interpersonal level, like I said before, it's about the things around you. So last year we looked at a lot at peers. So you might play netball because your peers do, or you might do athletics because your whole family has an athletics background. Schools, obviously our school, you have much more opportunities here than a lot of other schools in Brisbane. Institutional level, not really something you can apply to this assignment, but it's also to address codes, membership fees, scheduling of facilities. Really hard to, you might be kicked out of a sports hall if you're playing netball because, other things take priority, etc., or there might be a lack of facilities. Structural is the big one for this assignment. It's all to do with society. And like I said before, the cultural issues within society, body image, stereotyping, gender. There's obviously stereotyping around what sports males should play, what sports females should play. It also looks at, importantly as well for this assessment, the way in which resources, rewards and status are distributed and how the allocation of resources might impact on access. So the big one there is funding. So we know that Olympic sports, Commonwealth Games sports get more funding than something like aerobics, because obviously they're going to the big stage where the whole world stops and watches. And if you do well at those things, then you get more funding. If you don't do well, then your funding is decreased. Cultural level, another big one, obviously. It's all about gender. Sorry, girls, I forgot to mention in this one, media would also play a huge part in this as well. The way the impact media has on all of this. So obviously, if you're playing a sport that is highly televised, then yes, of course, you're going to get more funding. But if your sport rarely gets a mention in the newspaper or on primetime TV, then obviously your funding's going to be impacted, because obviously viewers brings in money, and then money brings in funding for your sport. So cultural level, obviously you could tie in body image here, so the impact that body image has on your participation. And obviously body image is filtered through the media. Okay, we conform to ideal images from what we see in the media. And obviously social media has a big part of that. If you do health, you know that social media is the number one way in which your age group communicates. So it has a really big impact. Here's a summary, girls. Probably a good idea to take a snapshot of that. If you don't have that from last year, it's a really good summary of the levels. And don't forget, at the end of the day, these are all massive factors, especially this one with your funding and media. And you know these two are interlinked. So as I said before, if your sport is televised and you bring in the viewers, you're going to get more money. Okay. But at the end of the day, girls, it comes down to you and what you believe in, what you want to play, why you want to play it. And at the end of the day, you will find a way to play the sport or physical activity. So just some questions or just a question to think about. Which levels, and I've kind of given it away, do you think have had an influence on your opinions about gender and body image in relation to aerobics? So we're obviously looking at body image, gender this term, and also looking a little mostly about media and how media impacts on body image and your participation. Please make sure that you read the textbook chapter and make some further notes, particularly on the levels of individual, structural and cultural, please. Thanks, girls.